Hello, I'm Jenna Johnson, and this is COVID-19 News. According to the World Health Organization, the U.S. now has over 6.6 million cases of COVID-19 and 200,000 deaths attributed to the virus. Damn, you know shit's fucked up when that's not even our top story. Our top story: Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away on Friday at the age of 87 from complications of pancreatic cancer. She died surrounded by her family at her home in Washington, D.C. It was a sad day as thousands of people swarmed the steps of the Supreme Court to pay their respects to one of the greatest Americans in U.S. history. There were so many regular citizens gathered peacefully in one area, I was surprised Donald Trump didn't unleash thousands of unmarked federal agents to break it up. She was so important for us right now because we have a president in the White House claiming,
"The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged."
She would have been the voice of reason when it came to a presidential election showdown. He's putting his face on the back of absentee ballots, for crying out loud. For 27 years, she served on the Supreme Court. She loved opera, traveling, and she loved the law. She was a defender of civil rights, of voting rights, and a trailblazer for women's rights and gender equality. She was known for her razor-sharp wit and her mastery of language, which allowed her to write fierce dissents to prevailing judgments, like the one in the Hobby Lobby case on religious freedom, where she wrote, "Your right to swing your arms ends just where the other man's nose begins." But Republicans still be like, "But what about this move?" And then she'd be like, "Yeah, but..."
Only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
Matrix Moves, man. Fellow Supreme Court Justice John Roberts said of Ginsburg that she was a jurist of historic stature and a tireless and resolute champion of justice. Joe Biden said she practiced the highest American ideals and that she stood for us all. President Donald Trump said she was a fighter to the end and a 3 at best. So judgmental, that dude. It is said that tragedy plus time equals comedy, but in this case, tragedy plus in no time at all equals the conservative Republicans trying to pull some bullshit. Because even though Ginsburg said to her granddaughter just days before she died that her most fervent wish is that she not be replaced until the new president is installed, of course, within 3 hours of her passing, Mitch McConnell announced the Senate would vote on whoever Trump nominates for the Supreme Court. That could be anyone from gun-toting St. Louis couple to rocker Ted Nugent to Scream My Speech Kimberly Guilfoyle. Hold on. When Antonin Scalia died during the Obama administration, McConnell established the no confirmations of Supreme Court nominees the year of an election. But apparently it has an exception clause that says the Senate can vote for the nominee in an election year if, by chance, the president happens to be white. Confirming a Trump-nominated Supreme Court justice would tilt the U.S. toward a very conservative ideology. For instance, Trump has this idea of instituting patriotic education across the nation, where only the nobility of American character and the virtue of American heroes and the miracle of American history will be taught. He has declared war on the 1619 Project and Howard Zinn's book, A People's History of the United States, because he doesn't want American school children learning about America's long history of racism, which is odd, because you'd think he'd want school children to learn about his family. And while federal law prohibits any federal official from interfering with curriculum in schools, Donald Trump doesn't seem to care. He said that he would sign an executive order to put this education plan into place. And when this is challenged, he would no doubt, as he always does, take it to the Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg would not allow such a ridiculous order to pass. But who knows what's going to happen now? This is one of the many reasons why she will be so greatly missed. And not just by Americans, but by people around the entire world. She was like the keystone in American justice, keeping it all together. May she rest in peace. In other news, it's been reported that back in April of this year, the United States Postal Service drafted a proposal to distribute 560 million reusable face masks to the public on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services. But the White House Domestic Policy Council put a stop to it because they believed receiving masks in the mail might create a panic. What masks were they thinking of sending that would create panic? But these? How would these create panic? And you know, sometimes panic is good. Like, you know how you can't yell fire in a crowded theater unless it's on fire? Well, the theater was on fire and nobody yelled, "Fire!" Is Hamilton so good that it's worth your life to see how it ends? Some would say, don't put me in that position. But most would say, I will straight up panic leave in the middle of Dear Theodosia. Former Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams has a new documentary out about voting. For more on this, we turn to our senior voting analyst, Chris Mata, who was just 3 credits shy of getting a political science degree at Trump University. Chris?
Thank you, Jenna. Those credits were electives. Stacey Abrams has a new documentary out called All In, The Fight for Democracy, about the state of voter suppression in 2020. But did she really have to name it All In? You know there's going to be some pervert scrolling through a list of movies going, oh yeah, All In. Let's see what that's about. Then 10 minutes in, he's like, I had no idea 17 million voters were purged from the system and disenfranchised. Maybe it's time I pull up my pants and get involved in my community. But right after I watch Balls Deep, a documentary on billiards. Who's naming these films? The film gives us an insider's look into voting laws that most people have no idea are happening that are a threat to our basic voting rights as citizens. I, for one, am going to vote, and I'm going to vote hard. So hard. Harder than I've ever voted, because according to the documentary, my democracy depends on it. And by hard, I mean with effort, perverts. You can find her documentary on Amazon Prime. Back to you, Jenna.
Thanks, Chris. And finally, Lebron James questions the NBA's MVP voting panel after finishing second place. He said, "It pisses me off because out of 101 votes, I got 16 first place votes. That's what pisses me off more than anything." He got 16 votes out of 101. Maybe LeBron should have sent voting ballots with his face on them to all the voting members. Or better yet, shut the post office down. Or even better yet, got a comb over and declared,
The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged.
I'm Jenna Johnson and this is COVID-19 News. Thanks for watching.